Welcome back to the Predictable Revenue Podcast. I'm your host, Collin Stewart, and today I'm joined by Jabeen Zaidi. She's the founder and CEO over at Spring AI. Before we jump into the episode, this episode is brought to you by Predictable Revenue's Founder Coaching Program. Founders, let's be real. Scaling a company is tough. You're juggling product, revenue, hiring, and a million other decisions. But what if you had a proven framework and expert guidance to help you navigate the chaos? That's where our Founder Coaching Program comes in. Whether you're finding your first customers or fine-tuning your go-to-market, we've got a business that'll help you scale, well, predictably. Welcome to the Predictable Revenue Podcast, where sales leaders teach you what's working for them so you can build it yourself. Jabeen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. I'm excited to hear your story.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks.
With a product like Spring, it has to have come from a really interesting story. So talk to me about maybe kind of where it came from, what you were doing before, and like where did the idea come from?
Sure. Yeah. So my background is in design. I loved art and design. And so going into architecture and design school, went into industrial design, followed a career into UX design software. And that's where I was in an enterprise role as a senior UX designer, building white label solutions and banking applications and all kinds of really complex design system interfaces that really helped productivity and efficiency. When the AI boom, you could say, happened, right? We were launched into this amazing universe of image generation and AI and at the tail end of, I think it was 2022. And, from a design perspective, I saw this need where, this is a technology that I would love to see help professionals in this wildly creative way, and also help people who are limited with their creativity to actually leverage, right? And so it came from a pain point myself where I was experiencing that the tools out there were really not matching my standard, but I loved the potential. And so that's kind of what drove me to want to start building a software that was more of like a creative engine, a creative workspace that allowed AI to work with creators and not replace, which was like the big fear at the time. And I know I'm going deep right into it, but yeah, that's kind of where it really started, where I wanted to, if you can't beat them, join them.
Very cool. Tell me more about where the idea came from, because it does feel like maybe a conflicted self where you're like, well, the AI is going to be bad for industrial designers, and so it sounds like maybe there's some conflict there. Tell me about how you felt about that.
So I was in a user experience role of like software interface, and so having a very user-centered, intuitive training on how do you make applications easy to use. When AI came out, you were faced with the Discord, chat and like these very complex prompt engineering and things that were really a large learning curve for people. And so having that user experience background, I wanted to make something intuitive and make us easier. And so that was really where the idea came from.
Really interesting. You came from the industrial design space. You saw where this was going, and then you thought, you know what? Let's find a way to align with the current trend. How did you go about, like, from that decision to, hey, I want to do this crazy thing of like quitting my day job and starting a company, which is insane. We can all agree. It's a great decision. I fully support it. I made the same one. You are legally insane now.
It is. I feel like, we're part of the same club. There's a few people that can really understand that decision and the impact it does on our mental health. But it's definitely a brave thing that we do. Yeah. Sorry, continue your question.
I was just going to say, walk me through your process for how did you make that decision? How did you go about validating Spring? Like, did you do it before, or was it just like, you know what, I know I have to do this, I'm going to quit? Yeah, I'd love to hear the story there.
Well, one thing that really helps is listening to what is needed in the market, because I knew I had that pain point. I was struggling. But I actually dove deep into Reddit and Discord and just all these articles that were coming out to understand this new wave and how were people responding to it. There was a lot of fear originally that this was coming for creative people jobs, like creative jobs. Oh my gosh, we're going to be replaced. That was like the biggest, unknown, right? And being a designer, I was more like embracing that fear. I'm like, listen, I don't think this is going to replace me. This is going to help me. And how can I learn about how would this help others? So I did my research, and doing your research like that really helps you kind of frame your compass for that idea to really make sure that we're user centered. The more user centered you are, the more chance we have to validate it when we do create that solution. So that was my starting point. I took the compass from all the pain points I collected, and then I went in and hired a team of 12 designers, developers, poured in all of my savings, everything towards this. The most important thing is I found my CTO who had this technology, shared my vision when I told him, and we partnered. And he had the technology, I had the design. I said, let's do this. And what we did is we launched our MVP May of 2023. So it took around like 4 or 5 months, which is not a very long time to from conception to actually alpha launch. We had our
Hmm.
beautiful interface, and I did a big launch event, and from there things went downhill. It became a little bit rocky. I had struggles with development teams and design teams, and we got delayed a couple months. And at that point, I had launched, I think, at the same time that Canva and Adobe were coming out with their AI tools, and it was becoming this like race. And I had to very quickly understand, okay, how am I going to be different? Because these big giants are going to come in, and it's easy for them to create outstanding applications because they already have the user base, they have the interface. What makes us different? And so it kind of forced me to really reevaluate. I'm not just making a more intuitive AI generator, I'm
Hmm.
making a creative operating system of the future where I want AI to support and not replace designers. How can this facilitate design? How can it make it easier for people who don't know design to use
Hmm.
AI in those ways? So, not pivoting, but really aligning my values made me make very important decisions, which was one, I'm never going to compromise on the security and the confidentiality of my users' content. That was one of my main compasses from the beginning. My CTO, who's a cybersecurity background expert, he was all for it. He said, we're going to make it extremely secure. And then another thing, we're always going to allow a free tier. We're not going to put a paywall behind image generation because this is something that should be accessible. We would of course have subscriptions, but we wanted to, those were our two main things. Like, let's keep this accessible, let's keep it secure. And then, we were able to validate that with a pilot in, NGIT, where I went straight to them to first validate. And then I also went to many designers, many marketing agencies, photographers. I spoke directly, had them pilot, use Spring tested, give me their feedback. And because I was focusing on the creative professionals, whereas other tools were just kind of focusing on mass audience and making it fun to make memes and funny videos and stuff, it gave me a clear community and values and things to just uphold and maintain. And then going forward, we validated that successfully. They were seeing the value of like, hey, you're not compromising on high quality, you're not compromising on our confidentiality, and you're making it intuitive for people to learn and use. So that was my biggest things. Whenever I would hear like that response, it really warmed me. And continuing on that path, now we're going more for the enterprise. They see the value of that as well. So it
Cool.
helps to have that compass from the beginning.
In between here in the enterprise, there's obviously, a bit of a journey here. I imagine you must have got a lot of pushback of like, well, Midjourney can do this, or Dolly can
Oh
do
yeah.
this, or like, that just sounds like you're another one of those. And like, those all had their moment in the sun,
Hmm.
but the like, how am I different than what you can do in ChatGPT must be an
Exactly.
interesting
Yeah.
conversation for you.
Yes, for sure. I feel like every day, we're kind of like looking at the news, seeing what new thing is out there. And especially for startups, it becomes something anxiety inducing because it's like, oh, like, Google came out with Gemini, and there's all these different, or there, what is it, Imagine, and all these other tools. And we thought a little bit out of the box where we thought of this as more of like a fun experience. We added an AI photo booth in there. We've created all this like easy, ways to animate things. And our interface has always been a standalone, different from all of the others. And so I think like I take joy in, first of all, the AI community out there, especially my CTO, where I honestly applaud any new technology that comes out when DALI and Chat GPT. Like, I'm not like resentful of it. I think it's amazing when they're allowing these capabilities and they're giving it that democratization where everybody can try it. I think where it comes down to how can we keep Spring on its moat is by giving that, like I mentioned, like a different space that has that professional studio environment that you can feel that you have your creative freedom, but also privacy, and then having like flexibility. Our average turnaround for implementing a new technology and just integrating it into our platform is between 2 days to a week. So
Amazing.
we're able to like, easily swap out, the new technology or repurpose our AI tool interfaces and create new AI tool interfaces. Like I was telling my developer, I really like this plushy one that came out. And we've also built our own, like we've built our own AI technology, and we're able to advance that and easily update it. And so kind of making a sustainable platform that's going to grow, it's really like alive. It grows as technology grows. We're not limited. We didn't lock ourselves in. It kind of helps us in the market where, whereas, companies like Adobe and Canva may have to go through thousands of compliance and developer sessions to like really unit test and get a thing out because they have millions of users. But we're small. We're kind of like lean. We can run faster. So it makes us a little bit, we're able to keep up.
That's great. I mean, it seems like it's kind of the best of both worlds in some ways, is that you're able to leverage the new technologies and innovations that are coming out
Exactly.
and provide a professional workbench for I'm using the word professionals twice, but provide a workbench for
Yeah,
professionals
exactly.
that actually want to get their job done.
Exactly.
I can, I mean, I can't attest to Spring, but I can attest to this as a business model. I am frustrated with ChatGPT. And like,
Oh
I
yeah.
love ChatGPT. It was an incredible UI, UX innovation, and like the tech that they use to make it so fast and scale it so incredibly. But you can't expect a general use application like that to provide the guardrails and the context necessary to do really specific work.
Yeah. And even like organizing, for example, even just like all the images that you've ever generated there in a single library, be able to search for those, like, having a way to transfer that to different functions of removing things, adding things like that. You can't expect ChatGPT to do. It's a chat interface. So exactly that limitation is there, which is why I love ChatGPT and I wanted to have that feature as well in Spring. So we integrated that as an AI assistant inside Spring. So you're able to go there, talk to it, get some ideas going, and then
Incredible.
continue in one window, no 50 tabs that we all usually have, and be able
No,
to. I
no,
do.
not me.
I'll admit I have 50. I have 50 tabs open. But at least
Probably
when you're in
250.
your creative flow and you want to be in one place and
Yeah.
you want to just continue on along from one idea to an image to editing that image, then turning into a video to export, boom, all in one window. You didn't have to jump from app to app. I mean, that's what I wanted, and that's what I found. I validated that many others wanted. So that's what we did.
Amazing. So you validated it. Where did that first customer come from?
First customer was actually freelance designers who valued the competitive nature of what Spring was. So we basically were able to showcase like how, so one of them actually, a photographer was able to actually sell stock images that were going through an AI detection, but they were not detecting that things were generated from Spring. So he's like, I am subscribing to this because I'm making so much money off of it, like literally. And similar stories where, replacing a need for stock photography. Oh, I was going to subscribe to the stock one, but they're not giving me the stock images that I need. I'm generating the images that I want from my brand using Spring. And then e-commerce was a big one. So product photography, making it, I think, and that's where a little bit actually going into our story, we started shifting more towards B2B, or like just, hey, this is something that we should really focus on. How is this helping people's businesses? And so helping them sell their products, because this then just becomes a tool that they're willing to pay for. We'll always get like those free users that want to just use it to create concepts and one-offs that aren't going to use it every day. But the business owners who are going to rely on this to make their product photography look better, their, social media campaigns, like all these things. Those are the ones who became our core users. And that's honestly our validation there. Interesting angle that we didn't really see is the real estate agents and interior design was always in there, but real estate agents in who sell investment properties, they wanted to flip houses. And so for them to sell a property that is really run down, has bad flooring,
Of
we're able
course.
to use our Reimagine tool that completely transforms that space into like this polished, beautiful, renovated space without the cost of that. And so, I mean, think about the return that they get. They get how much commission they get for selling a property, and they pay only $20, a month for Spring to generate, the new
To
concepts
do
of,
all that.
yeah, to do all that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned photographers. My neighbor is a real estate photographer, and I was just, if you saw me looking over here, I was like looking at it. I'm like, could Mike use this? I'm going to send this to Mike.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I think this is the perfect example of an amazing application, or like the impact that AI will have on the future of work, in that it is not replacing human creativity. It's not going to replace, it will augment, it will.
Exactly.
That work wasn't going to get done, right? The students didn't have time to do that. They weren't going to invest that. And now they have time to put there, or they have the ability to go farther with their project. I think that's maybe the best, is it's going to extend what we are already doing as opposed to replace people.
Exactly. And that was a really key point for me to prove to the professors who were always like at that skeptical side where we don't want to teach AI to our students. I'm like, this is going to be in their workforce when they graduate. And the more they know
Mhm.
how to leverage it, one important thing, and it's very important actually, is I was telling them that AI is not something that is making it like that they're using stolen ideas. That was like their biggest, resistance of like, I don't want
Everything's a
my,
stolen idea.
yeah, because it's like, oh, like the AI is coming up with better ideas than them, and it's not their idea, and they're generating it, and I can tell that's not what they came up with. This is what I heard from professors, right? Very, very blunt, transparent, right? And so what I told them is Spring is actually giving an AI training playground where we're allowing the students or anyone upload their own image data set and train their own style. They're able to train that in a very private, encrypted playground. We call it the AI playground. And then they're able to endlessly use that model that they train. It's called fine tuning, and use it to take a picture of, a bathroom and apply that style to that bathroom, or apply that style to their living room, and they can just start using that model. And where did that information come from? Where did that design come from? Their own data set, their own designs. And so when I was explaining this new way of education to the professors, I was saying, I want you in the classroom to help your students train, let them leverage AI to actually create their own data sets and use their own models, because when they go into the workforce, let me tell you, that's going to blow people's minds that they created their own AI models and we're able to do that. And that's where I'm excited that Spring is headed. We're giving these private playgrounds for brands to have. It's like a WhatsApp, like it's encrypted chat. Like we would never be able to see what they're training. We have very private, only the person who created the model is able to use it, and they can generate. It's used for character consistency. It's used for, even training yourself if you wanted pictures of yourself. So
Very cool. I want you to describe the moment you realized you had product market fit.
product market fit. I think when we saw that no one was focusing on the specific, like I said, our core compass of like that private training, private private AI studio, we call it, in an intuitive, closed system, and then having that use cases seen from our customers. So actually we started at very low prices, but we were actually encouraged to like raise your prices, raise your value, because you know what, this is a valuable tool. You've offered so much, and getting that feedback, we were able to see that, you know the pricing was right, the user base was resonating. We're having recurring subscriptions, that we're getting growing interest from large enterprise brands. And so being able to even speak to people, a lot of my mentors and advisors, they would introduce me to like high up CEOs, CTOs of like large packaging design companies that handled like Pepsi and Pampers, like, and having them see Spring and kind of compliment and say, yes, you've solved something that no one's doing. Like being able to get that reaction from like people who I look so high up to, like, they're really at that top
Mm-hmm.
level. That really helped me, keep my, that motivation that I need as a founder, sole founder going, because then we see like, hey, we really are making a difference with our product. We're seeing that if people recognize the importance that we put in there, we're able to really build that community.
Very cool. So you've got this great community. You've got some really awesome customers. What comes next?
Like we said, we're really trying to push this new feature is the AI training playground. And so I think that is going to unleash really, like, I'm just excited to see where that takes just brands and businesses, and giving AI that next capability. And then our second thing is we're actually opening our tools to be integrated into other businesses. So one thing that we're doing is we have my favorite is the AI stylist tool, where you can change your outfits, change your garments, like your top, your pants, change into a dress. And so one of my advisors was like, "Why can't this be in a Shopify store? You should integrate with Shopify, or you should integrate with WooCommerce." I'm like, you know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna build it. And so we did. We've built a WooCommerce integration right now that just launched, and next is gonna be Shopify. So we'd love Spring to be powering apps that within a store that you're shopping for clothes and you don't know how that shirt's going to look on you. Now you can upload your picture and be in a virtual fitting room and try on those outfits. And being able to have powered by Spring, in these virtual fitting rooms, and being able to share that technology with other businesses to help them really like convert, and help sell their clothes and make that difference in the user experience. That's really where we're headed.
Very cool. If anybody is looking, so Jabeen, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed getting a chance to kind of go deep on UX and the future and AI and everything. If people are curious, they want to check out Spring, where's the best way for them to find it? And then if they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to connect?
Yeah, sure. Everyone can start for free a new account on spring.design, and you can start creating, and you'll have access to all of the AI tools. And I am doing weekly webinars, so stay in touch you can follow me on LinkedIn, and our Instagram and social media handles are Spring AI Studio. And so check us out, and love for you guys all to see I'd love to see what you can do and be part of, your creative journey.
Amazing. Jabeen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to everybody for listening. We'll catch you all next time.